welcome back. Or if you're just joining us, welcome for the first time. In any event, this is episode 2 of the series, Every Reference in Family Guy Explained, where I'll be taking a look at every reference ever made in Family Guy ever, and explain them all one by one. Today, we're tackling Family Guy's sophomore effort in Season 1, Episode 2, I Never Met the Dead Man. Without further ado, let's jump in. Right off the bat, Lois makes reference to Stewie's Sesame Street phone.
Oh, look at Stewie. Isn't he adorable playing with his Sesame Street phone?
For any non-former babies in the audience, Sesame Street is an American educational children's television program airing on Public Broadcasting Service, or PBS. Premiering in November of 1969, Sesame Street is a variety series consisting of both live-action and animated sequences. While it does feature its fair share of human characters, it's best known for its colorful cast of puppets. These include, but are by no means limited to, Bert, Ernie, Oscar the Grouch, Big Bird, and probably the biggest star of the series, Elmo. I could probably go on for hours about Sesame Street, but I'll move on considering we have an entire rest of the episode to get through. As I said, Lois makes reference to Stewie's Sesame Street phone, which he uses to quote-unquote talk to Ernie. In researching this topic, I actually found a number of Sesame Street branded toy phones released throughout the years, including this Big Bird talking phone toy, which was originally released in the late 80s and manufactured by Hasbro, as well as being redesigned and re-released in the early 90s. This toy allowed you to speak with Big Bird, Cookie Monster, Bert, Ernie, Oscar the Grouch, and Grover. I also found this toy phone released by Playskool in 1993 featuring Big Bird, Oscar, Ernie, Prairie Don, who, not to be a fake fan here, but to be honest with you, I had no idea existed until researching this. And 2 honkers. I am really rusty on my Sesame Street lore, apparently. I'm not sure which Sesame Street phone they're specifically referencing in the episode, considering I found just shy of 1,000 variations of the concept of a toy Sesame Street phone for babies in researching this. But I have a feeling I put far more thought into this throwaway gag than any Family Guy writer ever did when they conceptualized it. Moving on. Next, we have a reference to the Wright Brothers.
Now open up for the airplane.
Never! Damn the broccoli, damn you, and damn the Wright Brothers!
Orville and Wilbur Wright, a pair of American brothers best known as the innovators responsible for the first ever functional airplane. On December 17, 1903, the pair of brothers successfully made the first ever controlled, sustained flight of an engine-powered, heavier-than-air aircraft in North Carolina, just south of the town of Kitty Hawk. Peter makes reference to Star Trek.
Sorry, Meg. Daddy loves you, but Daddy also loves Star Trek. And in all fairness, Star Trek was here first.
An American science fiction series that originally aired on NBC from September 1966 to June of 1969. It has since gone on to grow into a massive media franchise with a number of spin-off shows, including, but not limited to, Star Trek The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. Peter is watching an episode of what fans refer to as TOS, or the original series, set in the late 2260s and starring actor William Shatner, who will be relevant later, as James Kirk, captain of the USS Enterprise, a ship carrying a crew whose sole mission is to explore and catalog the still unknown reaches of the Milky Way galaxy. In a cutaway gag, we see Peter hitting Roadrunner while speeding through the American Southwest with Wile E. Coyote, both being characters from the Looney Tunes series of animated comedy shorts. Looney Tunes, debuting in 1930 and still holding cultural relevance to this day, is an American animated media franchise produced by Warner Brothers. Looney Tunes and its sister series, Merry Melodies, were originally conceptualized by Warner Brothers producer Leon Schlesinger. By Warner Brothers producer Leon Schlesinger and animators Hugh Harman and Rudolph Ising as competitors to the Walt Disney Company's Silly Symphonies series of animated shorts. While they originated as a means to showcase Warner Brothers' vast library of music, the shorts ended up taking a life of their own and spawning a wide roster of memorable characters such as Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and of course our friends referenced here, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. The duo star in a number of comedic shorts in which Wile E. Coyote attempts, and inevitably fails, to capture the Roadrunner, unless, of course, Peter is at the wheel. Fun fact, the E in Wile E. Coyote stands for Ethelbert, apparently. When Peter is giving Meg her driving lesson, he encourages her to race an Amish man. The Amish are a traditional sect of Christians who trace their origins to the Swiss Anabaptist movement, which originated in the 16th century. The Anabaptist movement would later split into 2 halves in the 17th century. The Emmentaler's, named after the Emmental, a valley in west-central Switzerland, who argued that excommunicated believers should only be withheld from communion and not regular meals, and the Amish, named after Jacob Ammon, an Anabaptist leader, who believed that those who had been banned should be excluded even in common meals. Eventually, the Amish would migrate in the early 18th century to the American state of Pennsylvania. In an effort to reject individualist ideals such as pride and arrogance, the Amish forego many modern conveniences such as electricity, and instead choose to live a more honest and rural lifestyle, hence the horse-drawn buggy as seen in the episode in place of an automobile. Later, Peter makes reference to Chips.
Besides, Chips is about to start, so let's sit back and get lost in a world of California Highway Patrol fantasy.
An American television series that ran on NBC from September 1977 to May of 1983, starring Eric Estrada as Officer Francis Frank Llewellyn Starring Eric Estrada as Officer Francis Frank Llewellyn Poncherello. This is what it says on Wikipedia, people. I don't know what to tell you. And Larry Wilcox as Officer Jonathan Andrew Baker, two highway patrolmen on the California Highway Patrol, or CHP. Fun fact. Apparently the I in Chips stands for absolutely f***ing nothing. Stewie makes reference to the art of war.
The first rule of war is know thine enemy.
Which is a 5th century Chinese text written by the ancient military strategist Sun Tzu.
What? Sun Tzu, the Chinese Prince Machiavelli.
He's also seen holding the Farmer's Almanac, an annual American periodical that provides long-range North American weather predictions, as well as calendars and guides on various outdoor activities. First published in 1818, longtime readers of the Farmer's Almanac claim published weather predictions with as high as 85% accuracy, while scientific analysis shows a number closer to 50% accuracy. Essentially, flip a coin and you'll have just as much success at growing corn this year. Later, Meg makes reference to Rosie O'Donnell.
If I can't drive, I'll never have any boyfriends, I'll never get married, and then I'll have to adopt a kid like Rosie O'Donnell.
An American talk show host, comedian, and actress, perhaps most famous for hosting her own daytime talk show, the self-titled Rosie O'Donnell Show, which ran from June of 1996 to June of 2002, winning several Daytime Emmy Awards in the process. We also have a reference to Bigfoot, a creature of North American folklore. Bigfoot is said to be a large, bipedal, humanoid creature covered in long black or brown hair and said to inhabit the forests of the American Pacific Northwest. Creatures matching the description of Bigfoot have had folklore dating back to early human history in cultures all around the world, but the name Bigfoot has its origins in 1958, when bulldozer operator Jerry Crew discovered a set of 16-inch human-like footprints embedded in the mud in the Six Rivers National Forest in northwestern California. Other notable names for Bigfoot include Sasquatch, Skunk Ape, Wood Booger, Momo, Honey Island Swamp Monster, Wood Ape, and my personal favorite, the Ohio Grassman.
She got her arm shot off in Vietnam.
Peter makes reference to the Vietnam War.
You goddamn knows what happened!
An armed conflict between North Vietnam and South Vietnam, which lasted from November 1955 to April of 1975. North Vietnam was supported by both the Soviet Union and China, while South Vietnam was supported by the United States and other anti-communist nations, acting as a proxy war of the greater Cold War conflict between the Soviet Union and the United States at the time. We have a reference to Boston, Massachusetts.
You guys, we're still on in Boston?
The capital city of Massachusetts, and of course, more importantly, the setting of Fallout 4.
Fucking kill!
Founded in 1630 by English Puritan settlers and named after Boston, Lincolnshire in England, the city was a central location in the American Revolutionary War, being host to several key events in the war, including, but not limited to, the Boston Massacre, which was an event instrumental in garnering support for American independence from British rule, the Boston Tea Party, a protest carried out by an early American political group known as the Sons of Liberty, who boarded a British trade ship carrying 342 chests of tea and dumped them overboard into Boston Harbor in response to the Tea Act of 1773, which introduced greater taxes on British tea being imported from China to the original 13 colonies, and Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, in which the Sons of Liberty members Paul Revere and William Dawes gave advance warning to colonists of the British Army's advance by way of the Charles River, playing a crucial role in American victories in the subsequent battles of Lexington and Concord. More importantly, it's the setting for Fallout 4.
In your emergency handbook.
Dad, I was in a chat room on America Online and Doomy22 told me some idiot knocked out the cable.
We have a reference made to America Online, better known as AOL, an American web service best known for providing text chat rooms through their AOL Instant Messenger service in the early days of the internet, as well as at one point providing dial-up web service to millions of Americans across the country. We also have a reference to the 1971 American musical fantasy film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which was based on the 1964 novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, written by Roald Dahl. The film stars Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, a world-renowned chocolatier and recluse, as well as Peter Ostrom as Charlie Bucket, a poor boy who, through finding one of Wonka's golden tickets in a global sweepstakes, wins the chance to visit Willy Wonka's chocolate factory along with 4 other children from around the world, ultimately, spoiler alert for a children's movie from 1971, winning ownership of the factory, mostly by being the least terrible child to attend the factory that day. After knocking out TV for all of Quahog, Peter has to make do by watching television vicariously through his friend over the phone. His friend makes reference to Detective Andy Sipowicz.
Well, Sipowicz is trying to find out who stabbed the super.
The lead character from the American police procedural television series NYPD Blue, which ran from September of 1993 through March of 2005 on ABC. Portrayed by Dennis Franz, Sipowicz was originally the secondary focus of the series, eventually becoming the lead protagonist and main focus of the show about halfway through its run. We also have the first appearance of James Woods Regional High School in this episode, which is named after American actor James Woods.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Starting his career in theatrical stage productions, Woods has gone on to star in many notable films and television productions, such as 1979's The Onion Field, a movie I totally had heard of before researching this entry, as well as 1983's Videodrome, 1984's Once Upon a Time in America, and 1995's Casino. His performance in 1986's Salvador earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, as well as earning another Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor for his performance in 1996's Ghosts of Mississippi. He also served as an executive producer on Christopher Nolan's 2023 biological drama film, Oppenheimer. I didn't know that.
Megan Griffin ruined TV. So instead, we're having a surprise test.
Whoa, suddenly I was public enemy number 1.
Meg has a monologue reminiscent of the ABC coming-of-age television series, The Wonder Years. Starring Fred Savage as Kevin Arnold, The Wonder Years ran for 6 seasons, from January 1988 to May of 1993, later being rebooted in 2021 and running until 2023 again on ABC. While depicted by Savage as a young boy through the run of the series, Kevin Arnold's older adult counterpart, played by Daniel Stern of Home Alone fame, acted as a narrator for the series, much like Meg's internal monologue as seen in the episode.
Things were gonna be okay. Dad would take care of this guy.
There's also a reference made to Scooby Doo.
Wonder what Scooby and the gang are up to right now.
An American media franchise following the adventures of Scooby Doo, the titular talking dog, and a gang of teens who drive around in a van and solve seemingly paranormal mysteries. The group is made up of Scooby, his owner Shaggy, both of which eat dog food and cower at the mere idea of ghosts, Daphne, a somewhat danger-prone and fashion-forward member of the group, Velma, the intelligent and well-read brains of the gang, and Fred, the brave and capable leader of the Scooby-Doo gang. Debuting as the animated series Scooby Doo, Where Are You? On CBS and running from September of 1969 and well into the late 70s, the Scooby Doo franchise has gone on to expand into a number of other animated shows, as well as animated and live-action films and TV programs, video games, comics. Fun fact! The original voice actor for Fred, Frank Welker, actually reprises his role in this episode of Family Guy.
Gee whiz, gang. Looks like the killer gutted the victim, strangled him with his own intestines, and then dumped the body in the river.
Next, we have a reference to The Wizard of Oz, a 1993 film based on the 1900 children's novel written by L. Frank Baum titled The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Peter recreates one of the many iconic scenes from the film, namely the tornado sequence in which Dorothy, portrayed by Judy Garland, is whisked away from rural Kansas to the magical and far-off land of Oz by a twister. In Peter's dream sequence, he sees visions of several notable classic TV characters. Namely, there's cameos from Gordon Shumway, better known as Elf, which stands for Alien Life Form, from the self-titled American sitcom Elf, which ran on NBC from September 1986 through March of 1990. The series follows Elf the alien and his newfound day-to-day suburban misadventures as he lives in hiding alongside the Tanner family after crashing into their garage in their California home. We also have a cameo from the robot from the American science fiction series Lost in Space, which ran on CBS from September 1965 to March of 1968. The series follows the Robinson family in the distant future as they struggle to survive as pioneers exploring in the depths of space. Alongside the robot is Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, an American sitcom that ran on CBS from September of 1964 to April of 1967, and chronicled the lives of 7 castaways as they try to survive on a remote island after being shipwrecked. Gilligan, as seen in Peter's Wizard of Oz dream, is the ship's first mate. I also just want to take a second to point out that Gilligan's Island is from that era of TV where you could run for only like 3 seasons and still have 98 friggin' episodes by the end of your run. Moving along, we have a cameo from Jeannie, from the American sitcom I Dream of Jeannie, which ran from 1965 to May of 1970 on NBC. The series starred Barbara Eden as Jeannie, a 2,000-year-old Jeannie, very clever, I know, and Larry Hagman as Captain Anthony Nelson, an astronaut and U.S. Air Force officer with whom Jeannie falls in love and eventually marries. In Peter's dream, Jeannie ends up transforming into Samantha Stevens, the lead character of the American sitcom Bewitched, which ran from September 1964 to March of 1972 on ABC. The series follows Samantha, a witch who falls in love and marries Darren Stevens, a mortal man who... Okay, this is just the plot of I Dream of Jeannie, essentially. Turns out I Dream of Jeannie was made in direct response to the critical and financial success of Bewitched. Both series, by the way, were produced by the production company Screen Gems, a subsidiary of Sony. Fun fact, it turns out Hollywood has always been creatively bankrupt. Next up, we have a scene where Peter walks around wearing a homemade apparatus that frames his POV as an episode of television. He makes reference to a number of real-life television networks, including Lifetime.
I get all the channels on this thing. Lifetime,
an American cable channel and subsidiary of A&E Network, which itself is owned jointly by both the Hearst Corporation and the Walt Disney Company. Launched in February of 1984, Lifetime currently airs a mix of second-run syndicated series, such as How I Met Your Mother and Grey's Anatomy, as well as original programming including made-for-TV films and reality series, such as Dance Moms, with the stated mission of, quote, offering the highest quality entertainment and information programming and advocating a wide range of issues affecting women and their families. Peter also makes reference to CBS,
CBS,
which has produced like over half of the TV shows I've talked about in this video. A subsidiary of Paramount, CBS is an American broadcast network which debuted in 1927 and has gone on to be a powerhouse in American entertainment. They broadcast not only sitcoms, but news programs, as well as live sports, game shows, and reality TV shows. Peter then references the United Paramount Network,
hey, UPN,
better known as UPN, which was an American broadcast television network that ran from January 1995 to September of 2006. Originally a joint venture between United Television and Paramount Television, UPN later went on to be solely owned by Viacom in the year 2000, and then eventually owned by solely CBS. Select UPN programming later moved to the CW after CBS decided to shut down UPN in 2006. Peter goes on to make reference to the American teen drama television series Beverly Hills 90210,
all right, 90210,
which ran from October 1990 to May of 2000. The series followed twin siblings Brandon and Brenda Walsh as they adjust to life after moving from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Beverly Hills, California, and attending West Beverly Hills High School as they adjust to and partake in the dramatic lives of their wealthy and privileged newfound peers.
Meg, what are you doing at West Beverly?
We have reference to Charles Manson.
You know, I hear that Manson guy watches it in jail all day long.
An American musician and probably more notably cult leader who led the Manson family, a cult based in California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Probably most famous for being responsible for a series of murders in July and August of 1969, including the 1969 murder of American actress Sharon Tate. Here, Manson is seen watching television in prison, announcing,
"If I haven't seen it, it's new to me,"
referencing the at the time slogan of the NBC network, "If you haven't seen it, it's new to you." There's a reference made to Sonny the Sun, the mascot of the American cereal brand, Raisin Bran, a breakfast cereal containing raisins and bran flakes. More notable than the reference, in my opinion, is the fact that Sonny is depicted here wearing sunglasses. Why is that notable? Because this is an example of the Mandela effect at its finest. The Mandela effect, for those unaware, is a psychological phenomenon in which a group of people share a collective false memory of something counter to reality being true. The term was coined by paranormal researcher Fiona Broom and comes from Nelson Mandela, the South African anti-apartheid activist and politician who served as the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. More specifically, it comes from the shared false memory a number of people have in which they claim to vividly remember Mandela's death while being imprisoned in the 1980s. However, in reality, Mandela passed in 2013. Another famous example of the Mandela effect, the shared false memory of the Raisin Bran mascot, Sonny the Sun, wearing sunglasses in promotional material, when in reality this was never the case. Could this be the result of split timelines? Alternate realities? Maybe. Or maybe, as a child you ignored the picture on the front of the gross raisin cereal and instead made a beeline to the Lucky Charms. Who knows? Later, we have a reference to The Creature of the Black Lagoon, an American monster horror film released in 1954. More specifically, there's a reference to Gilman, the titular creature from the Black Lagoon. Also, I just wanted to add, The Creature from the Black Lagoon was immediately followed up by a sequel the following year in the form of Revenge of the Creature in 1955, as well as The Creature Walks Among Us in 1956, again in the immediate next year. They really fucking cranked movies out back in the day, man. Fun fact, it turns out Hollywood has always been creatively Next up, we have a reference to the Bat Signal from the DC Comics Batman franchise. First appearing in Detective Comics number 60 in February of 1942, the Bat Signal is a call to action for Batman, and a means for the Gotham City Police, namely Police Commissioner James Gordon, to summon him in times of turmoil. Next, we have a reference to bullfighters, otherwise known as Matadors. Practiced in Spain, Portugal, Mexico, Peru, France, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, and other countries influenced by Portuguese and Spanish culture. culture, bullfighting is the physical contest between man and bull, traditionally to the death, in which both competitors attempt to immobilize the opponent, though this isn't necessarily always true. Due to ethical concerns, bullfighting has been outlawed in many countries. Nevertheless, it continues to be permitted in portions of both Spain and Portugal, along with a number of Latin American countries, parts of southern France, and some areas in the Philippines. In Colombia, the tradition is in the process of being phased out, with a total ban scheduled to take effect in 2027. We also have a reference to Oktoberfest, a traditional Bavarian beer, food, and cultural festival held annually in Munich, Bavaria, from mid or late September to the first Sunday in October, as well as being practiced in countries all around the world. Oktoberfest has its origin in the marriage of King Ludwig I of Bavaria to Princess Therese of Hildburghausen. Therese of Saxe-Hildburghausen, I think, which occurred on October 12, 1810. In celebration of their matrimony, the citizens of Munich were invited to attend the festivities held on the fields in front of the city gates. The festivities included horse races, a tradition that is held to this day. Also, a side note, I am clearly by no means an expert on the history of Oktoberfest, Star Trek, or really anything at all, and have essentially no qualifications to be speaking with any confidence on really any of these topics. So if and when I do get something wrong, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. I'm sure the guy eager to let me know when I'm wrong on the internet was just so ever patiently waiting for my permission to proceed, so here's the all clear, champ. Next, there's a reference to the red shirt trope from Star Trek, which I covered earlier.
The landing party will consist of myself, Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, and Ensign Ricky. Ah, crap.
In Star Trek, low-ranking and relatively unimportant security officers and engineers, often signified by their red Starfleet uniform, that would accompany the main cast on landing parties would often serve as cannon fodder to be quickly killed off. The first instance of this trope appears in the 1966 episode, What Are Little Girls Made Of? Speaking of Star Trek, we also have a cameo in this episode from Canadian actor and Star Trek star, Boston Legal's own William Shatner, here voiced by Seth MacFarlane. Fun fact, William Shatner suffers from tinnitus. I'm sorry, that's not a fun fact. Speaking of not so fun facts, we have a reference to the real-life German invasion of Poland in 1939, right at the dawn of World War II. This is followed by a reference to the real-life German military invasion and occupation of Czechoslovakia, which began in 1938 and extended out until the German surrender at the end of World War II in 1945. Last but not least, we have a reference to Klondike bars, more specifically their slogan,
"What would you do for a Klondike bar?"
which is often featured in their ads. Klondike bars are ice cream bars that are coated in a thick chocolate shell and were created in Mansfield, Ohio in the early 1920s, being named after the Klondike River of Yukon, Canada. With a runtime of 23 minutes and a total of a whopping 42 references made, I Never Met the Dead Man clocks in with an average of 1.82 references per minute. And with that, we have another episode behind us. That's 2 down, 439 episodes, and about 250 million references to go. Did I miss any references? Did I misinterpret any? Are there any you wish I went deeper on? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe to Squirrel Tech if you like this video and want to see more like it. Come back next time when I tackle every reference in Family Guy Season 1, Episode 3, Chitty Chitty Death Bang. Bye-bye.